President Biden losing touch with reality with just 27 days to go until the midterms. After decimating American energy, letting inflation ramp up to record highs, allowing a historic flow of migrants to cross the border, and unleashing a violent crime surge under his watch, Biden is delusional enough to think America loves what he's doing.
Look what I've gotten done. Name me a president in recent history that's gotten as much done as I have in the first 2 years. Not a joke. You may not like what I got done, but the vast majority of the American people do like what I got done. And so it's a matter of, can you do the job? And I believe I can do the job. I've been able to do the job. I've got more done.
Not a joke. If Biden thinks he's so great, why are so many vulnerable Democrats afraid to be seen in public with the guy? And get this, Biden actually thinks the Republican Party has nothing to campaign on.
What's the Republican platform to run on? What are they running on? What are they for? The first thing they said they're going to do is get rid of the Inflation Reduction Act. And so what's that do? They're going to raise drug prices, raise medical costs again, be sure that we're going to no longer be able to have the ability to have tax credits for weatherizing your home, saving money. I mean, I don't know what they're for.
Even Bernie Sanders is begging Democrats to actually listen to the people who get them elected and focus on top polling issues that voters actually care about, a concept that Democrats just seem not to be able to grasp.
I think the Supreme Court's decision was an outrage. It has to be an important issue in this campaign, but it cannot be the only issue. Poll after poll shows what everybody understands to be true. Working people are hurting. They're worried about the economy. They're worried about inflation.
All right, so Joe Biden comes out and says, everybody loves what I've done. How is that going to play?
Well, it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back here.
Too.
You can't say you agree with us because you're first.
I agree. I think I'm going to agree with a lot of where the table is going to go, but I do think that Biden has done some things. I thought the best part of what he said there was, look, you may not agree with everything I've done, but the Inflation Reduction Act had a lot of energy incentives. We should do more in energy. We should be drilling more here to increase our domestic supply, not only for ourselves, but even for allies around the globe. The CHIPS Act, which is going to allow us to make javelins here and to conduct the semiconductors that go into that. That's a national security issue. Gun reform, who would have thought a Democrat working with the Republicans in the House and the Senate could get a gun reform bill as he's been able to do. And infrastructure, some of the Republicans who voted against the infrastructure bill are now applying for money to have the infrastructure money brought to their districts, which I think is a good thing. Even if you didn't vote for it, you ought to be able to help your constituents and help your districts. Finally, I think he's right in one regard about what the Republicans are for. You look at what Rick Scott has released. He released a plan, I think, called the Renewal Plan for America, and McCarthy has a commitment to America. When Newt Gingrich did this in '94, they all ran on a contract with America. If you look at some of the differences between the two, one raises taxes, one raises prescription drug prices. So I do think, Republicans have some explaining to do, as you would say proverbially in politics, and we'll see if they're able to do it. I think the best thing about all of this is Republicans, whether it's one or two things they're standing for, they at least have a moniker out there. And they have to defend that moniker if that's what they want to do. And Democrats have a moniker. Where you're right, Jesse, is that they're not, probably half the Democrats want Biden there campaigning with them. They all want him to raise money, but not everyone wants him with them campaigning. We'll see how it works out in the next 3 or 4 weeks, but I know this race is tight in the Senate. 50 seats were what Republicans were supposed to win 8-10 weeks ago. There's no doubt abortion and reproductive rights have narrowed that. I still think Republicans have an advantage in the House, but I think it's a jump ball in the Senate, and we'll see what happens.
Harold rattles off a bunch of things they got passed. I mean, anybody can cook a lot of meals, but if people don't think it tastes very good, then so what?
You know what it reminds me of when Joe says that everybody loves him? It's like if a girl breaks up with her boyfriend and she doesn't say anything bad about the boyfriend, but she's broken up with him and she's on to a new guy. But the boyfriend keeps saying, she loves me. She loves me. She only says good things about me. She still loves me. No, she doesn't. She's on to the next guy. But that's like Joe Biden in this country.
I agree with that.
They're like on to the next guy. But what I think that I think that Bernie Sanders is smart. But Bernie Sanders always understood, I think, the working people. He understands it's about the economy. He's smart enough to tell the Democrats that that's what you have to focus on. And what the Republicans have to focus on is crime and the border. And every day I just see it and I just say, it can't get any worse. It can't get any worse. But every day it does get worse. So I think that, Joe Biden is, I don't think he's going to end up running in 2024. But I also think that the party is running from him more than are sticking with him.
Janine and Bernie Sanders both make great points. Is that if you have the number one issue by a mile, which is the economy, the Democrats don't even talk about the economy.
However, Bernie Sanders is not that smart because the bill that they gave, the bill that Biden passed was basically the blueprint from Bernie. And what did that result in? Increased inflation.
You're right. He always gets out of stuff.
It's like what Bernie Sanders wants to do is to spend more money.
Yeah.
That's not very smart.
Good point.
Now,
I take out what I said back.
But he is smart to be able to say, I'm not Biden. I would be different. You got to do this or that. And he tries to be all things to all people. But he's not. We actually know what he really is for, which is not what Americans are for. Biden's presidency is getting a 1-star Yelp review, but he's looking at it saying, I'm doing great. And I think when he gets his clips, we used to call them clips, like all the newspaper articles, they give him a folder in the morning. It seems like they just put all the good stuff, like the 5 articles that they can find that make things look really good. However, the other thing that's happening here is that a midterm election, when you have one-party rule, that means it's a check on one-party rule, and it's a referendum on Biden. It's not a choice between Biden and Trump or whoever else. So people are going to say, well, what can the Republicans do? The number one thing the Republicans want to do if they take back the majority is to stop bad things from happening. That's the number one job. And then they can start to talk about what they are for. The House, if the Republicans take over, they're going to pass so many bills, and Biden's going to ignore them. And you know what happens that night as soon as it's called who has the majority in the Senate and who has the majority in the House? The first thing that happens is we're on to the 2024 election.
Ooh, and last night, Greg, he said that he hasn't decided yet whether he's running or not.
Yeah, well, he didn't know what they were talking about. When he says that Republicans have nothing to run on, he's wrong. They can run on him, and they can run on the Democrats, who continue to deny that will claim that crime doesn't exist, that inflation is a mirage, and that the border is secure. Their strategy is like a drug addict in an intervention. It's just, nothing happening here. 2022 has been like a long exercise in denial. But the big story, one of the 2 big stories, Biden begged the Saudis not to cut oil production until days before the midterms. Yep. And why would he do that? It smells just like, it's almost just like hiding the laptop. It's like, here's a big problem. Let's bury it, hide it, or delay it so it won't hurt us politically. So he didn't really care that the Americans were suffering at the gas pump. He just didn't want it to affect the Democrats. That's kind of sleazy. It sounds a lot like burying the laptop to me. And lastly, you know what's happening tomorrow is another January 6th hearing. And I dropped my pen. So in the midst of this economic malaise, crime waves, we've got a war going on. It's like washing your windows as your house is on fire. Why are they doing this? I think that people should just not watch that hearing symbolically to say, like, we've had enough of this crap. We've had enough of this circus. We got real problems here. And none of them are political. They're actually real personal, family, economic problems. We don't look at our problems politically the way you do. That's the problem. That's why I think Democrats are better on the outside and Republicans are better on the inside. Like, when the Republicans in power, they actually attack things that Americans want, like crime and like the border. Democrats are really good at attacking Republicans.
Yes, they are.
So keep them on the outside. That's the way it goes. It's like a nice little marriage.
A lot of analogies there.
Yes, none of them made sense.
Are you going to be excited to watch the January 6th hearings tomorrow?
I probably won't watch them tomorrow, but I do think holding someone accountable for what happened that day is something that should be done.
Do you think doing the January 6th hearings on the same day as the inflation number drops is good or bad politics?
Probably good politics.
You think it's good politics?
I'm going to go with your nickname. It's probably good school to do that.
But remember, Jesse, they were supposed to have this hearing 2 weeks ago, but then the hurricane happened.
Ooh.
And they moved it so that they wouldn't get blown out on coverage.
Literally.
Blown out. Very well done.
Thank you.
A lot of good analogies around the table.
Yeah.
Dating, Yelp reviews.
That's a great dress, by the way.
It is a great dress. We're going to talk a lot
I agree
about
with
your
that
dress.
too. That's a great dress.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.